Hello friends, this is Captain Dave with Simple Plan Trucking. It's Friday evening and Eric and I are parked here in Kingsland, Georgia, just across the border from Jacksonville, Florida. We dropped off our load there this afternoon, and when we opened up the trailer doors we found that there's a piece of material that goes along the top of the trailer to carry the cold air for the reefer to the back of the trailer. I'm sure that some of you know what the name of that piece of cloth up there is. It had come loose. It was falling down onto the freight. So we were in a position where we needed to get the trailer repaired. So we're here at a TA Petro, and they're going to do that repair work for us here at about 7 o'clock. And then we're going to head up to Savannah, and we're going to pick up a flooring load that's going to Salt Lake City, Utah. Great load. Wish we had the time to do it, but with us going home for Christmas, we just don't have the time to get out there and get back. So we're going to actually take it up to Springfield, and we've decided to go ahead and take off a couple days earlier than we had planned. A little bit shorter on the mileage too, but we're going to make that up in January. So we'll take off tonight at about 2. The load will be ready 2 a.m. Eric's a night driver. He'll drive through the night. I'll pick up tomorrow and drive most of the day. You know, he'll get his clock back if he needs to and take us into Springfield tomorrow afternoon. And then he'll be at home. I'll probably get some sleep till about midnight Sunday night going into Monday morning, and then get in my car and I'll drive down to where I live in North Florida. It'll take me about 15 hours to get home. So I should be in there Sunday evening, which will be great. It'll be wonderful to be home. So that's our plans. I hope all of you have made your plans for the holidays. For those that are going to be out on the road, we're glad you're there. Thanks for doing that. I know it's a sacrifice, but next year will be your turn to spend with your families. Tonight I want to talk to you about why Prime. I've done some videos on trucking and considering trucking as a career, and how I've kind of come to decide to enter this field, and to include my wife, which has been challenging. But what I want to talk about tonight is why I chose Prime. Now, there are probably 4 or 5 different starter companies. Prime is considered a starter company in that it is one of a few that you can come and go to work for them with little or no experience. Basically, you've never been in trucking before. They've created a roadmap to allow you to get your CDL, to get the training necessary to be on the road, and then as soon as possible to venture off and to truck on your own as a solo driver, or in our case to team drive. For me, I looked a long time and I watched a lot of videos because I didn't know anything about trucking. In fact, when I think back, I think some of the first videos that I saw that people had done were with Swift, which is another company that trains new drivers. But as I watched more and more, I came to feel good about Prime for a couple reasons, and I want to talk to you about what those are today and why I chose Prime over other companies. I'm not here to disparage any other company, and there will be people just like me that have gone through training with other companies and loved it, and I don't want to take that away from anyone. I've not worked for another company, so I don't know if other companies are just as wonderful as Prime is, but I feel like I've made a real good choice, and every day, every step that I take, I'm more assured that this was the place for me and for my wife. The first thing that I sensed was just a strong sense of community, a strong sense of people caring for each other, mostly through the YouTube videos that I watched. And as I came out here, I saw that it is that way. Rob Lowe is the founder and owner of Prime Incorporated. It's not a corporation. It's not. There are no shareholders. It's owned. It's a sole proprietorship. He owns it. He makes the decisions. and it served him well over the years. And I guess, the proof is in the pudding when you look at the satisfaction of people that work for Prime. When I first started looking at trucking, I was shocked to hear that turnover in trucking can be as high as 90% for some companies. Some a little lower, but the industry standard is pretty high for people that decide to come into trucking and then get out of it. Well, I was pleasantly surprised to learn that at Prime, it's actually only about 50%. So that sounds high for someone that's not worked in this field. But trucking is a field that offers a unique set of challenges, not the least of which is being away from the people that you love nearly all the time. This is an over-the-road trucking company, so we are surprised every day when people show up for orientation and they ask their trainer, am I going to be able to go home every weekend? That just tells us that you didn't do your homework and you don't really know what OTR trucking is all about. Eric just joined me, got back in the truck, so feel free to jump in here and say anything along the way. We're talking about why Prime, why I decided to come to Prime. And one of the biggest things that I mentioned was that I got a sense that it's just a strong sense of community, and that the owner, Mr. Lowe, really cares about his people. It's evidenced through the turnover. The turnover number is about 50% as opposed to 90%. They're always doing things for the truckers. The terminals are wonderful. They're giving away free food, and they're the Christmas bonuses, and he's just very generous with his money, and it makes people want to be here as opposed to other places. And I think it's a very strong company financially. I heard that they had a very, very strong month or quarter, and just on the spur of the moment threw a party. And so this makes people want to be here. When you want to feel like you're in an environment that is financially sound. Every day we hear about companies, not just in trucking, that close their doors. Eric was telling me about one that he heard about at some point, that they just closed their doors just like that, and they left the truckers out on the road, no way to get back, no support. Celadon. What was it? Celadon. And so that's just terrible. Your whole livelihood is just gone without warning and without any support. And I just, from what I've seen since I've been here, God forbid if Prime ever did go out of business, I believe that Mr. Lowe would do it in phases, and he would take care of people before he made that decision. But that's not the case at all. It's a very sound company, and that's just another reason why I'm just really happy and feel secure in coming here. Would you like to talk about that at all?
Well, on the turnover numbers, I don't know if you already mentioned it, but ours are 50% as opposed to 90%. And talking about the community, we were kind of discussing that earlier, of how difficult that could be to have that community feel at a place where 9 out of 10 drivers are leaving after a year. Whereas half the drivers at Prime are going to be there with you at the end of the year. So there's a lot of really good relationships that are developed. Jen and I are having Christmas with multiple drivers next week, and those drivers have been there for years, and they're happy. They're making great money. They like where they are, and they like that community. So in my videos, I talked about that vibe and that community a lot, and how that's been a big factor of keeping me here. And it's proven to be true nearly 3 years in, that you feel like you're a part of something more than a trucking company. Like, we're obviously truck drivers, but I've never really felt like I work for a trucking company. And I think that's more than you could ask for to come and be a part of a mega carrier like this.
And technology has enabled us to be in contact with people so much more than in the past. Again, we were talking the other day about what it must have been like for truckers 20 or 30 years ago, prior to the internet, prior to cell phones. You literally were on your own for days and weeks and months at a time. And we talked about how people sought human contact by hanging out in the truck stops and in the restaurants. And so these truck stops would be full every afternoon, and they would just be flocked in there so that people could talk to each other. And now that's not so much the case. What we see is, yeah, the truck stops are full and the trucks are parked here, but people hustle in there to buy their food, and they bring it back to the truck, and then they've got their nose buried in the cell phone or watching movies or that kind of thing. So technology has enabled us to connect with each other in ways that we never would have imagined, and has made trucking a whole lot more attractive alternative lifestyle. Eric and Jenna started a Discord page, a Discord channel, I guess you would call it. It's basically a chat channel that any trucker can join into, not just Prime. And it's amazing because people check in the morning. Hey, how's everybody doing? They text in the morning. They check on each other. You know people, and that it just makes you feel so good when you're out there driving and you're by yourself, that there are people out there to connect with and to talk with and to listen to, and you know them and they know you. There's also a voice, text to voice, or you're able to talk. There's a method that you can plug in, and with your headset you can talk as if you're talking to the phone with multiple people on the channel, and it seems to be real popular, doesn't it?
I burned up a 5-hour drive chatting with 10 other drivers that are all driving. And you're obviously relating to things. Someone will say, "Oh, there was a deer off on the side," and everybody knows what that feeling is and what they're going through. So it's the quickness and ease of community and communication, but also the way we're all able to relate. That I just think it makes it really strong. And Prime lets that happen organically. And Prime doesn't push that. It's not Prime driving that. It's everybody at Prime driving it through Prime. I think a lot of people think that there's like a smoke-filled room hidden somewhere in the back of Prime where they're, how do we get these YouTubers to talk about us, and how do we get them to develop community? There's none of that. We just do it. Right. Nobody's telling us to get on YouTube. So it's great.
And there's no marketing forces out there. Eric has a big channel, as many people do. Nobody's coming to him and saying, "Hey, could you promote this? Could you talk about this? Could you talk us up?" These are things that we, in our heart, feel. That's why we're sharing them with you, why we feel Prime is a great place to work. Something else that I think is huge is just the training program. All companies have training programs, especially those that bring in new drivers and train them from the ground up. But I have to tell you that everything that I heard about Prime training it has come to pass. As was exactly as it was explained to me. There were no surprises. They literally take care of you from the time that you show up. They even pay for you to get there, either a bus ticket or they pay you to drive mileage for your car. I think they've limited the air travel now because of COVID, but the point is they're gonna front the money to bring you into Springfield to go through a week of orientation, and then you start into PSD, which is the portion of the training where you learn the skills necessary to pass your CDL, pass your CDL test. That's a 3-week-long session. And while you're not a Prime employee, then they front you $200 a week to live on, to eat, basically. And they give you meal tickets to eat in the cafeteria, which is very good food. So you're taken care of. You stay at Prime's expense in the hotels. You're transported from the hotels back and forth to the training pad every day. So they meet every need in an effort to make sure that you're given every opportunity to succeed in getting your CDL. Now, the $200 that they give you while you're in PSD is just a loan. After you pass your CDL, that's taken out of your check at $25 a week until it's paid off. So it's not really bad at all. The day that you pass your CDL, you become a Prime employee, and you are paid $900 a week. $900 a week to continue your training, during TNT, which can be anywhere from 6 weeks to 8 weeks to 10 weeks. You have to drive 30,000 miles with a trainer. Sounds like a lot, but let me tell you, I didn't know a single thing about trucking when I came here. I would never even, a year ago, if you'd have told me I was going to get into trucking, I'd have looked at you like you were crazy. But here I am, nearly halfway through with my TNT. I now have a CDL, which I'll be able to use for the rest of my life. It's just another skill that I can put into my pocket. But the training is very thorough, and Prime is not going to put you out there in a truck, in one of their trucks, and have you drive on the road until you're safe to do it. And there are benchmarks along the way. If you have what's called a critical event, if you're getting too close to someone, or you go too fast, or if there's a little gyroscope that's in the truck that if you tilt too much, you go around a corner too fast. Those all trigger what's called a critical event. And if you get a critical event while you're in training, it extends your training another 10,000 miles. So, we're very careful certainly to try not to do that, but that's not to be mean. It's just that they want to have the best, most well-trained new drivers that they can have driving for this company. So comfort with the company and the financial stability of the company, the training program, and then finally, financial. Financial's a harder thing to talk about because finances are different for everybody. What's enough money for me may be very different for how much money you need to make. And I'll maybe talk in another video. You can find tons of videos out there to talk about how much money you can make. But let me just say that I had a good job, and I left a good job to come here, and I fully expect that I'm going to double what I made in that job by trucking. Now, why? Because nobody wants to live in a truck. I mean, we would all choose to be at home, living our lives, as opposed to spending the majority of your time in a truck. It's a sacrifice, and we make sacrifices to make our lives better. In my situation, I want to drive for 5 years. I want to double my income. I want to sock most of it away. I want to pay off my house. I want to pay for this truck that I'm going to buy, and then maybe drive a few more years, or sell the truck, or build a small fleet. The sky is the limit. You can do whatever you want to. They have been, I think that the leadership team at Prime has just been brilliant in how they've built a platform that people from all walks of life, very diverse backgrounds, no education, people that have been in trouble with the law, virtually anybody can walk through the doors of Prime, and if you have the right attitude and you are driven, you can be successful. And there are just tons and tons of success stories out there. Eric tells me about them all the time. He'll tell me about this person or that person, or this person had a drug problem and they had no money and they were so in debt, and they came in and slowly but surely they turned their life around, and now they got tons of money in the bank and they couldn't be happier. So for those reasons, I chose to come to Prime. Again, there are a ton of great companies out there, and I would never presume that I'm telling you that Prime is better and you made a mistake and you should have come here. But for those of you that may be looking at trucking, please give Prime a hard look. Please reach out to me, reach out to Eric. We'll be happy to answer any questions. We'd love to have you. We'd love to maybe train you, see you along the way, and it's all in an effort just to make life better for all of us. So that's really all I have right now. Eric, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Okay, well said.
Thank you. Listen, you guys, I know I say it on every video, but it's so important, especially this time of year. Be careful. A lot of you are driving home for Christmas. You're making your way back out. For those of you that are going to be on the road, God bless you. We love you. And take care of each other. Take care of your families. And always give a little bit more than you get. This is Captain Dave with Simple Plan Trucking. I'll say it again sooner, but y'all have a Merry Christmas. Take care.